We are in chapter 9. Actually, my favorite part in all of this is finding Jesus in the text. It's in chapter 9, verse 11. Go back in your Bible, highlight this verse. I'll read it. In that day, I will raise up the fallen booth of David and wall up its breaches. I will also raise up its ruins and rebuild it as in the days of old. So God promises to unite the two kingdoms once again under Davidic rule. God will carry out his promise to David that he would raise up a descendant after him and establish his rule forever. And who is that? That's Jesus. The ray of hope is in the Messiah. In verse 12, the United Kingdom under its Davidic king will become the source of blessings to all Gentiles. Edom, which is mentioned in the text in verse 12, represents Israel's enemies. We talked about them earlier. They were hostile to the Israelites. So this verse is saying that Israel's enemies will become a sharer in the promises to David. Now, King David of Israel, he reigned over many nations surrounding Israel. This included some of Israel's enemies. There was Moab, the Philistines, and Edom. You can read about this in 1 Chronicles chapter 18. It said that David reigned over all Israel, doing what was just and right for all his people. This was the closest the nation ever got to fulfilling the Abrahamic covenant, expanding God's kingdom rule on earth. God is the ruler of nations, and Israel was to be God's servant. That's Exodus 19, verses 5 through 6. They were to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation set apart to do his will. The people were to set up God's kingdom on earth. This was grounded in God's promise to Abraham that his family would be a blessing to all peoples, and surrounding nations would hear of Israel's God and hopefully turn from these false gods to the Creator, Lord of all, Yahweh. But human nature remained unchanged. The nation of Israel has been exiled, and the root cause was sin and apostasy, idolatry. But God didn't give up on Israel. Israel's resurrection through Judah, the tribe of David, would keep the promise alive. It is through Judah, the line of David, that God would become human in Jesus Christ. Where Israel failed, Jesus would stand firm, obedient to God, unlike Israel. And his ministry is that of mercy and justice to Israel and for the nations. Jesus is Israel in its ideal form. That's what Isaiah 42 tells us. They were supposed to be a kingdom of priests, but they failed. So Jesus is our high priest who would atone for the sins of the world. Now they were to be a light for the Gentiles, but they failed. I mean, had Israel been loyal to the Lord, maybe other nations would have taken notice and perhaps been drawn to the Lord, but they failed. But it is through Jesus and his salvation that would be the light for the Gentiles. In his name, the nations will put their hope. That's what Matthew 12, verses 18 through 21 tells us.